What's going on, Sticklers? Tonight we have a crazy episode. We'll hit you with some UFC 300, talk about how Shadow and Keanu Reeves blend, Cinemacon 2024 announcements, and of course, we will get into our reviews of new shows like Fallout, and we'll get into Invincible, Kung Fu Panda, X-Men 97, and of course, Shogun Episode 8. It's going to be a great one, so stick around.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.
Aloha and welcome to The Joystick Show, a podcast where three friends from high school in Hawaii get together to chat about the latest things we've watched, read, and played in pop culture. I'm Thomas the Tank Engine, and we're here with D-Town Drake.
What's up, you fuckers? Choo choo!
And we're with Slytherin Scott.
How's it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Love it, love it, love it, you sneaky man. Your parcel tongue is hot right now, brother.
Oh man.
Stop.
Super sexy.
Sexy.
Yeah, so we had a big week and weekend. Drake, why don't you kick it off? Because Hawaii got put on the map again at
Bruh.
UFC 300.
Bruh, 300 was crazy. If you're from Hawaii, you've been on a high since Saturday evening up until today. All MMA social media, all MMA podcasts across the board are showing replays of Max Blessed Holloway pointing at the middle of the octagon, calling Justin Gaethje in to bang, just certified bangers. And Max Holloway ended up knocking out Justin Gaethje. It was an incredible fight. A lot of people didn't think Max had it in him, and to be honest, the storyline was Max really couldn't go back to 145 featherweight because he had lost to Volkanovski three
ate too
times and
much
Ilia
spam
Topuria
musubis.
had won. Ate too much spam
Sure.
musubis. When he moved up to 155 and he lost to Poirier pretty much all 5 rounds, he wasn't able to. He didn't gain the pounds appropriately, and so for this fight, he gained them appropriately. He looked bigger. He was more muscular. He came in very technical, and a lot of people thought Justin Gaethje was going to take off his legs, maybe knock his lights out. And Max went out there and he showed everybody that, Hawaii and the mana and the warrior spirit just kind of pushes through. A lot of the community are saying like the best card it's ever been, one of the best knockouts of all time. And it's
I
definitely
think
true.
so.
It's definitely true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was. Man,
Agreed.
that has to go down in like every highlight video of the UFC from now till eternity. That has to be in there. Because the way he points down the mat, the way they just go all out swinging, the way he's dipping, weaving, it was like, man, this is some pro level boxing shit on top of it being UFC. So, man, that was such an impressive knockout. Yeah, what were you going to say, Scott?
No, like I watched it like a day later, and this was after getting 2 separate texts, like you and Drake going like, "Oh my God, Holloway!" So I knew he won, right?
Mhm.
And for that type of, oh my God, I'm like, he probably knocked him out. So as I'm watching, I'm like, man, it's a good fight. Like they go all 5 rounds, and then as it's coming to the last 30 seconds, I'm like, what the fuck is gonna happen? And it's like I had this like it's crazy. I was just excited even though I knew it was gonna happen. And I'm like, no way. Like, it was like that thing in New Girl was like, how big was it? What? No, sorry,
Just
again.
keep
Like,
going.
as it was counting down, it got down to 10. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, no ways. How's this going to happen?
Yeah.
And then when he points to the middle and they start going at it, and then, like, at the buzzer, I'm like, there's no way I would have predicted the last second. That was, like, so freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It was a day late, and I was, like, just as excited. What the fuck? Like, I immediately text my brother-in-law who went to the event live. I'm like, I know it's a day late, but that must have been insane. And he's like, holy fuck, it was nuts. Like, he said it was just fucking crazy. Like, just
Yeah.
being there.
Oh, definitely. What was it like? Was it like everybody just losing their minds all night, or did he give you any more detail?
No, mainly just that. Like, everyone was like losing their mind. There's a lot of people from Hawaii like there to watch it as well. So I think that
Every time.
kind of like, I
Every
guess
time.
you could feel that. But
Yeah,
he was like, dude, it was just fucking nuts. Like,
that's
so
crazy.
other than
So
that, I gotta when he gets back, I gotta talk to him more about it and stuff, like how
Yeah,
everything
yeah,
was.
yeah.
But yeah, if you're gonna, I think this is like his I think it's like his first UFC event to go to. I'm like, what a one! Like, how do you top that, right? You just you give
it's
up,
never
right?
gonna
That's
be
the
as
one.
good as this
Yeah,
one. Yeah,
Best
exactly.
card all time so far. Oh wait.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
fucking insane. But yeah, so cool. I haven't watched UFC in a while, but this is like definitely one to just go and watch. Like, if
Yeah.
even if you're not one that regularly watch, like this fight was really good. Like,
And I think
yeah.
the whole night was right. I mean, I didn't
Oh, yeah.
really follow up beyond that, Drake, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, you could probably speak to that. Yeah.
Yeah, from the early prelims, it was, I mean, you had people who have been there. Jim Miller went to UFC 100, 200, and 300. He fought in all three. So he's been there for essentially 300 events,
Hmm.
to a degree.
Jeez.
And then you had Zhang Weili and Yan Xiaonan
Mhm.
fighting for the women's strawweight championship, and the amount of technicality that these women had, because Xiaonan is like almost like 5'6", and I think Wei Li is like
Oh, she's
5'1"
taller than
or
you.
something like that. Yeah, she's taller than me and longer than me, so she's like
kidding.
dominating. And it was the first time two Chinese people fought in the same event. Wow, thanks for
Wow.
body shaming.
I know you just like
know, like-
talk about that. You took that on the chin and just kept was like
Yeah,
you take
yeah, because I'm a
it. Good for you.
professional.
Good for you.
I'm a
bro.
professional, sir.
Damn.
And then there was this
Yeah,
woman,
can't shake
Kayla
you anymore.
Harrison. She fought for the first time, and she's a two-time Olympic gold medalist. And she fought for the first time. So there's a lot of things that happen on this card. A lot of people in the community, from the top down, essentially are saying that this is the best card that ever has been. And like Scott alluded to, you know, this is your first event you go to watch live. Like, how is this going to get any better? I don't know. I have
Yeah.
no clue.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. Yeah, I also saw an interview with the champ after, and when he was coming back to Hawaii, and he's just such a humble guy. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
is he so cool? Like, yeah, man. If you're not following him, but he seems like a good family guy and just so humble. But obviously, the guy bangs. You know,
Yeah,
like
he's on certified banger.
Yeah.
You can buy that hat too. And
That's
it's
right.
locally produced. Well, I think it's locally produced.
through
We'll just
him?
say that.
Hashtag bless.
No, it's through a local what is that called? Person who makes clothes, clothing designer.
seamstress.
I
I don't know. Oh, his hat.
That's funny though. You
clothing
wear that
designer,
hat
yeah.
around Hawaii. That's like
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're gonna
either people are
scrap.
like, oh, that's cool, and then or there's people like, oh, like challenge. Like
Yeah, certified
Yeah,
banger. You
yeah.
sure? You
it could
sure?
just be taken the wrong way. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
But we're just super biased because like Hawaii, UFC essentially kind of to a degree put Hawaii on the map in terms of like sports aside from like football, and with BJ Penn into Max Holloway, there's just like so much pride, and so much like I don't know, like feeling good on the inside, for me personally being from Hawaii. So
Mhm.
I don't know if you guys all felt that as well, being from
Yeah,
Hawaii.
definitely. I think I felt it more because I didn't watch like the full after the fight and everything. I just kind of saw when he was coming back to Hawaii, like
Yeah.
being on all the news channels and stuff. I was like, damn, that guy is a really good representation of Hawaii. So I
Yeah,
did
for
feel
sure.
like,
Oh,
yeah, go for it.
this made me think of so when I remember telling you guys like we had to redo our sync, that one day and we had to like go to like
What,
Lowe's
you
or whatever
knocked it
and like
out?
go back and forth. Yeah, I was like,
You
oh,
just, like,
it's a
pounded
fucking
it,
thing.
bro.
Fucking
Banger.
hook 'em up, bro. No. Max was there, like at Lowe's or whatever.
Oh, yeah,
really?
yeah, you did.
I was
say
telling
that.
Drake
Yeah,
all this. I didn't tell you. I meant
yeah,
to tell
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
And like, there's this guy, and you know, like something you see people on TV all the time. You're like, like you know they look like, but when you see them in real life, you're like, that could be him, or it could be some dude that looks like him. Like
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm seeing him like how tall he is and I'm like, oh, I tell Christine like, oh, I think that's Max Holloway. She's like, what? I'm like, right there, like, and then he's kind of walking, right? Like when we're walking, and then I'm like, he's like behind us. I'm like, that guy over there, and she's like, who the fuck is Max Holloway? And I'm like, shut up. Like, I'm like, that's so
Babe,
embarrassing.
babe,
That's
Shut the
rude.
fuck up, babe.
And she's
Shut
like, I
up.
thought he walked away. I didn't know it was the guy right there. I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I don't know who it is. I'm like, I had to Google him. I'm like, look. And she's like, oh, okay. And then this
Okay,
happened.
not
She's
even
like, oh, I
impressed.
heard about Max Holloway. She's like, oh, that's that guy. I'm like, yeah. Like that's the
Yeah,
guy.
you just
How you
won
know?
everything.
Yeah,
Jesus
that's just so funny.
Christ.
Like, who the fuck is Max Holloway? I'm like, he's
It's funny
right
to
there. It's
think,
fucking rude.
That's funny. Our wives
Yeah.
could care less about UFC
Yeah,
or like
certified
fighting and
bangers,
stuff
I
like that.
get it,
So
It's a
yeah,
pretty big
yeah.
deal.
It's just
Go
funny to
away,
think
okay?
about like a guy who you know could murder another human being just like looking at Lowe's like, hey honey, what you think? 3/4 or what? Half inch? What you think?
Yeah,
Right,
and I know he's a
right,
good
right.
guy, but like out of all the
Flathead or
professions,
Phillips?
yeah, out
Sorry.
of all the professions, that's the one you're like, who the fuck is insert name?
Right,
You're like, oh, the
right.
guy who could kill me with his fist.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That
If he
guy.
was
That
a
guy.
mean dude, he'd be like, "You guys talking shit," and then be like, "Oh, I gotta back
Oh,
out all of this."
yeah.
No,
Sorry,
it's
my
her. It was
wife.
her. Push her down,
She don't
run. You know
know.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Human speed bump.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I'm X.
Oh man, that's too good. Well, I'm glad you didn't die, and congrats to the champ. Well deserved. The guy
For sure.
definitely is blessed, but I think it's a lot of hard work there too. So very freaking cool. Somebody who also has Hawaii ties, but has now been cast in an upcoming movie. The third one, in fact, is Keanu Reeves is now cast as Shadow in Sonic 3. Do you guys have any thoughts?
Sick.
Apparently, he sounds just like Shadow. We all heard.
Wow, I wonder where you heard that from.
I don't know. Some
Um,
dude who was in the know told me.
Yeah.
Apparently, in the IGN comments, that's like a pretty spot on casting. So, what do you guys know about Shadow? Because I honestly, other than he is a Black Sonic, I don't really know much more about him.
He's the Vegeta to Goku's Vegeta.
Vegeta.
What?
Yes.
To Goku's Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you.
He's
said that
Vegeta,
one
okay?
back-
Voiced by
He's
Keanu.
Vegeta, right?
What's the most dyslexic way I can say this?
Yeah.
We start over here.
You're right, though. I think that's the part I remember. But he's kind of like an edgier Sonic. I think in some of the early iterations of the games, he's used guns. Like I don't know why.
That's
Sonics
right.
need
He did.
guns.
I had a couple of those Sonic games for GameCube. They were pretty fun. Yeah, and he looks just like Sonic, plays a little different, and I think he did have guns.
Yeah, dude.
It's gangster.
He's hardcore.
Kid
He's
from
like
the
the
South Side.
Punisher, but he's Vegeta
Yeah. To Goku's
to
Vegeta.
Goku's
Vegeta.
Sonic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's a pretty interesting character. I'm excited to see what Keanu Reeves does. We know that we're getting the Knuckles show with Idris Elba coming out on Paramount Plus, and that show takes place in between Sonic 2 and Sonic 3. So curious to see if he makes a cameo in there or how they are gonna tie those two movies together. But we all love some Keanu Reeves, so I'm happy to see that he's gonna be in a beloved franchise.
Cameo.
Shaw.
Cameo. Yeah.
Sure. So one thing that we weren't able to talk about last week, but has happened since we last recorded an episode, was Cinemacon 2024. It always goes down in Vegas, or at least it has gone down in Vegas the last few times. And this is where all the movie studios bring out their best shit. It's to hype up people in the industry. It's to hype up movie theater owners and say, like, this is the products we got coming out. This is how we're going to market it. Like, get ready. So it's basically, a full showcase for these upcoming movies. Well, Disney was there, Paramount was there, Lionsgate was there, and there was a ton of cool shit that dropped. Disney really brought it. I thought I'm kind of a Disney fan, so I was kind of on board with whatever. But we got to see a little bit of footage, or at least they did at CinemaCon, from Captain America: Brave New World, and also Deadpool and Wolverine. Were you guys able to hear about any of that?
I read into it on the IGNs, and it's kind of building up more hype about it, which is kind of making me not scared. I'm excited to see it, but then it's also leveling up the expectation for me. So I'm gonna try to keep a level head and stay in the middle of the pendulum.
Oh, nice metaphor. Scott?
Yeah. Let me follow that up with not metaphor. I thought that I looked
I'm
it
gonna
up.
take a round
bit.
head and hit it between two flat surfaces.
Yeah.
You could have just flipped it around. That's only a me skill.
I based on like of course the obvious ones, Wolverine, Deadpool, a lot of the Disney stuff for sure are ones that I'm excited for. I'm also excited for Inside Out though, in particular, like in Disney's Pixar. That's a really interesting story they got going on, and I can't wait to see like what more they do. Like,
Yeah, they
you
also
compare
showed
that to
35 minutes of it.
Of Moana too?
what?
Yeah, they showed
Wow.
35 minutes of Inside Out too.
That's a pretty good chunk.
So that's like
That's
the
like
majority
a
of the
third
movie.
of the movie, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's probably a third of the movie. Wow, damn. It's probably this would be crazy. They just show the ending, right?
Yeah.
Like,
You
yeah, how do
go
you
to the
like it?
theater. And, yeah.
Just ruin it for everybody. I'm excited for that. And there's some other stuff I was looking at, like the Superman documentary sounds cool. I'd like to check that out when that
Was that a
arrives.
Warner Brothers thing?
Um,
I'm guessing,
me
right?
check
Because
the-
Warner Brothers is doing all of the DCU stuff, so that sounds pretty sick.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
on
got to be.
board.
It's it looks like they're gonna dive into Christopher Reeves.
Hey, dude, you know what else? Wait, was this 2023? Never mind, this is 2023. I was gonna be like, dude, they showed some footage from the Meg, but that seems like it's something for the
Yeah,
past.
that was last year, dude. Already saw it.
Sorry, bruh.
Yeah, you
Too
were
too
about
late.
to cream your pants if it was though.
Whoa,
And then the Paramount
regulate.
news was pretty cool though.
Yeah, yeah.
They got some new Avatar: Last Airbender animated movies on the horizon, so that sounds interesting. Hopefully it's
Yo.
the OG people who are, the part of it. If
Yeah.
not, then it can get real iffy. Not sure. And then hearing the Trey Parker and Matt Stone doing a musical with assists from Kendrick Lamar, that sounds
Yeah.
Oh
intriguing.
snap.
So
Yeah, I'm curious to see what that's going to be about. But yeah,
yeah,
that was some big news to come out of what was that? Paramount again that you were saying? Can't remember,
yeah,
but
that was Paramount. Yeah.
I think the obvious headline for a lot of people online was the Deadpool and Wolverine because I'm pretty
Mm.
For
sure
sure.
they got 9 minutes of it, and it starts off with Deadpool and Wolverine walking down a road, or like on a or in a car driving on a road, and basically Deadpool's doing his thing like turn off your phone, and he's like swearing at the audience, and then Wolverine turns around and just fully snaps, like loses it, like a dad losing his temper on a road trip after the kids are like, "Are we there
Yeah.
yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" So he just goes off, and that's kind of where the trailer starts, kind of setting the tone for this new Disney era of Deadpool, really. And what better way to do it than having Hugh Jackman comes out? But also, like, people got to see the costume in action, the full yellow suit. The Deadpool costume is a lot more red and vibrant than what we saw in the previous movies. But yeah, people have just been raving about what they saw from that trailer already. Plus, Kevin Feige came out and was like, "Are you guys ready for, like, I don't know exactly the exact wording, but it was like, are
Mhm.
you ready for like an effing good time?" And he's like, "I could say that now because Deadpool and Wolverine is rated R." And so people are like, "Woo!" Like losing it. I guess there was a fear online that Deadpool would become Disney-fied and it wouldn't necessarily be as violent or be as um I don't know, as rated R as it normally was. But
Right, right.
this, I guess, like
Pull their
calmed a lot of
punches.
that fear. Yeah, pull their
Yeah.
punches, exactly. Make it more family friendly, but they're very much not going that case. And so
That's
I
awesome.
yeah, I think people were super stoked about that. So yeah.
And there was a little sidebar. How about those popcorn buckets? Are those legit? Those...
Dude, I don't know. Boss Logic put out some popcorn buckets,
Oh, it's
and I
Boss Logic. Okay, but those were hilarious. I'm like, I
Jesus.
yeah.
could see them doing that.
But there is apparently a real report of Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, designing the popcorn buckets.
Uh-huh.
So I'm sure it's going to be crazy. But I
Okay.
saw the ones you're talking about. I'm pretty sure it was from Boss Logic, where like it was the characters' mouths on the side, and then that's where the popcorn would fall out of. And
Those
it
are
looks
wild.
crazy. Yeah, it just looked like if people thought the Dune bucket was wild, like this shit is on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
It's just out of control.
Yeah, I was
So
like, you could only do that bucket after the Dune one. You can't just start with that. Like,
Yeah.
people would be like, "What are you doing, dude?"
yeah,
But that's
exactly.
hilarious.
Two
Made me
things I
laugh.
wanted to point out too for Cinemacon was like Alien Romulus. We haven't had a really decent Alien movie in a long time,
Yeah.
and that looks like it's going back to like the OG times. And then they're redoing a Nosferatu. Eggers is doing a Nosferatu 2024, and it's looking real spooky, especially with today's kind of effects and
Yeah.
cinematography. It's gonna be interesting for show.
Sick.
Yeah, definitely. Are you interested in seeing Abigail? It's that movie where those people kidnap a girl and then it turns out she's a vampire.
That
Yeah,
sounds cool.
that sounds
It
awesome.
looks
Yeah.
It's like
badass.
Let Me In, which the original one is I believe was like a Nordic movie, and then it was redone with Chloe Grace Moretz later on.
Oh, I like
It was
Chloe
very
Grace
Nice.
Moretz.
yeah, yeah. So if the casting's good and the story's good and there's an adequate amount of gore, like yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah. The other thing
shout.
I wanted to shout out is they also showed more footage of the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
like we were talking about on the WonderCon episode, I got to see some footage from the director, but a lot of people there were like, the CGI in this movie is incredible. It's like some of the best CGI that's ever been done. The director maybe has to say this, but he said it at WonderCon that this is some of the most advanced AI or CGI, not AI, CGI that's ever been done. So
Oh,
that continues to be high on my list that I'm looking
What's the
forward to.
budget
I
for
agree.
that movie then? Are they
Oh,
expecting? Are
it's
they
up there.
needing a need? Okay, all right.
It's high. They definitely spent some money on it.
Dang.
Yeah,
hopefully
I
they
don't know
make
what
it all
they're
back.
expecting.
Yeah, hopefully.
Exactly. And I think they will. I think they're definitely gonna. Um, those franchises have always been pretty fantastic, so I don't see why this one would be bad by any
Yeah.
means. Oh, the last one I wanted to shout out from Paramount, they are
Mhm.
doing a G.I. Joe and Transformers crossover movie.
I did see that.
Are you
It's
Oh
guys
crazy.
yeah.
excited, surprised? Do you care? Oh, and one other last one. The Last Ronin TMNT is going to be a
Oh
rated
yeah.
R movie.
Yeah.
So those
I'm
are the
more
last
interested in
two
that.
I wanted to shoot.
Yeah,
Throw
I
out
know.
there.
Is
Yeah.
Yeah.
that live action that it's gonna be rated R as well, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the Last Ronin is going to be rated R.
That's gonna
That's
be
gonna be
insane. I'm
yeah.
assuming if I had to just assume it'd be good, I think I'd go with that. Like, I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be the
What-
dumb way to
What's
phrase
the
that.
alternative? I think it's going to be shit.
Good or not
Like,
good?
yeah,
If
yeah.
Out
I
of
had to
10?
assume
On a
it'd be
scale from
great,
good or not
it'd be
good,
great.
I think it's going to be good.
If I had to assume that, why would I doubt it? I'd be like, nah, I still don't think so. That's so stupid. But out of
Shit.
the two, I'm most excited for that. Like
Okay.
the Transformers GI Joe, I'm just highly interested. Like
Yeah.
if it's
Yeah.
gonna be a dumpster fire, I still kind of want to see it
It'd be funny if they
from
just it
afar.
was Fast and the Furious, but they transformed and then G.I. Joe was involved. You know what I mean? Like it's kind
That's
of like
I'm
that kind
literally
of
waiting for Fast and
That's
Furious to combine with some franchise. Like,
yeah. I mean,
yeah. It seems like it's probably not that far off, right? Like it's any day now we're gonna get some Fast and Furious crossover, maybe the new Jurassic Park, maybe this or that. But if you haven't seen
yeah.
Beast Wars, like it actually is not bad. I liked that movie. It's like a turn off
Okay.
your brain, enjoy it, but the action's super cool in it.
yeah.
And spoiler alert for that movie, but again, you had, I don't know, 6 months now. At the end, they do tease a folder. It's like one of those manila folders you see, and like on the first page, it says something about the G.I. Joe program. And the back door opens up, and it's like a full on military facility with G.I. Joe looking vehicles in there. So it's like a really cool kind of end scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Drake knows this. Like my
Yeah.
grandpa has sent me GI Joe collectibles since I was like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, and I haven't opened them up. I still have them all in the boxes. So I've
Duh.
been waiting for a good GI Joe movie forever. I hope this is the way in.
So
Like
it rises that value up, dog.
exactly,
Yeah.
because I want to sell those things and retire.
Yeah, like
yeah,
if
go for a
if
sec.
X-Men 97 taught us anything is that like you could make old franchises really great as long as the writing's good. Like
Yeah,
G.I. Joe for sure could be like the next big thing. And you wouldn't even need that much CG. Like,
right.
you know what I mean?
Way
Like if
less
they
than
just had
Transformers.
yeah, and if they just had really good writing on it, like it could be
Yeah.
really good. Like look at shoot, what's the one with Chris Pratt? That
Mario.
yeah, you fucker. The one where he's the military
Not
dude.
Mario? I was being serious.
The one
Not
that
Mario?
Days of Tomorrow.
No,
Oh,
no,
shit, I
no.
was-
The
I
one
was actually
based on the
serious about
book
that.
where he was like a Navy SEAL. You know,
Oh,
like
Guardians of the
Oh,
Galaxy.
No,
yeah,
the,
the
Parks and Rec.
Galaxy Navy SEAL. Yep.
the
Yeah,
one where
it doesn't
he's
help
in
my
the
point
thing.
that I can't remember these
Yeah.
names, but that is the name of the game for Scott.
The Terminal List. I'm just passing it.
Yeah. Terminal
Yeah.
List. The John Krasinski one on Amazon does well. Like all of these. Oh, even Reacher. Like, there's an audience for all of these sort of like badass. Dude, you get a bunch of badass dudes, call them the GI Joes. Dude, forget about it. Like, just get a
Yeah.
good story in there. This could be
G.I.
their
Joe
in.
meets the Expendables.
Revamp it. Yeah.
Yeah. But like, yeah, I'm just curious how they're gonna do it because GI Joe is meant to be for kids, and yet there's
Mm.
soldiers who like fight dudes and people get shot
Ninja
up.
suits. Yeah.
Yeah, they gotta really. I think there's a world they could do it. They 100% could do it, but to Scott's point, they need a good writer. They need a good story. They need us to care about all of these different characters, and they need us to care about them as a team. So it's
Good luck.
possible.
Yeah, that's the main thing,
I
right?
And we're going to get into some awesome shows, which I think brings us into the review portion of the show. So
Mhm.
let's get into some reviews because, man, bless up. The Lord shined
Yeah.
down on us. Good episodes of TV this week. And
Live
man,
action Paw Patrol.
take it away on Paw Patrol. No, let's get into the shit people care about, and let's talk about
Yeah.
Fallout. No, that's harsh. Because I'm sure there's parents out here that's listening. They're
Yeah.
like,
They're
okay,
like,
have you
what
watched
did
that
you
new
just
Paw
say about
Patrol?
Paw Patrol, you
That show's
dick?
amazing.
Yeah, dude, those
Let's get
dogs
into
are
that new
angels.
episode of Bluey.
Dude, don't talk shit on Bluey. Blue
I'm
people,
not. That show's
Bluey
actually
fans. I
pretty
know.
good.
I know you're not, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I've seen it done to people the hard way, where they like say one thing of criticism on Bluey, and they got Blueyed away. Like it was just not.
Blew it away.
It was not
Yeah.
good.
Not in a hot way.
Yeah, not in a sexy way for sure. But let's kick things off with Fallout.
Oh,
Drake, take it
okay.
away.
So as you know, Bethesda makes awesome video games, RPGs, action RPGs, and one of their famous ones is Fallout. And Amazon was like, you know what? I guess we'll just make a show about it, and they did. And we talked about this previously when they were doing Last of Us and another post-apocalyptic live-action show, and we were like, oh, is Fallout going to be this, or is it going to be this? In a previous episode, and it really did turn out to be more cinematic. The writing is very good, the action is very good. First two episodes you end up caring about the characters because they actually dive into a little bit of their story and progress them forward, and then in other episodes they start to show a little bit more flashbacks, and they do a really great job at keeping you on the edge of your seat, giving you just enough content to continue to watch, and by the end give you a reveal, but at the same time really opens up the series to continue on, and it really should. The acting in this show is quite fantastic. You have Ella Purnell as Lucy McLean, who's the Vault Dweller. You have Aaron Moten as Maximus, who's a part of the Brotherhood of Steel. And then you also have Kyle MacLachlan, who plays Hank McLean, who we've seen in other things. And
The original Dune.
the
movie.
original Dune.
Yep.
Yeah. And we also have Walton Goggins as the Ghoul.
Oh, I love that guy.
Dude,
Dude.
so good.
Freaking
This
love
guy
that guy.
makes the show for me personally. Ella Purnell's eyes obviously are very large, and
She's
they're
got
really
anime
encapsulating.
eyes.
She's got
Right?
anime
Like,
eyes.
there's some shots where I was like, this
Bruh.
is literally an anime character brought to life.
She's the hottest golem I've ever seen. And
Oh, damn.
one of the
That's messed
I
up.
Scott's watched the first two episodes as well too. Thomas, you finished the series, you said?
I did, man. I
Yeah.
I'm not like a big binger. So whenever there's a show that makes me want to binge,
Yeah.
I'm like, this show is incredible. And this show, 100%. I finished it in like 2 days. It was so damn good.
And these
Yeah.
episodes are girthy.
Yeah.
One of my favorite lines came in the first two episodes when Walton Goggins is the ghoul and he goes up into the town of Philly, and he doesn't want to shoot up everybody, but he's trying to accomplish a goal, and he ends up having to shoot everybody. In the middle of the scene, he's eating some cherry tomatoes, and by the time he's taken out the squad, he gets some bottle caps out of his pocket, he throws them up in the air, and he's like, "For the tomatoes."
Yeah, I love
And
that.
it was
Yeah.
I laughed at that so fucking hard because like such a random thing, but like such a beautiful like sentiment. Like, I may be a ghoul, but I'm still a human being who's gonna pay his debts.
Yeah, I don't steal.
Yeah, I got
And he's-
principles.
Says
Also,
it
for a
so
quick
funny.
second, I forgot that bottle caps were like
Yeah,
currency.
currency.
So he's like, boom, and I just see these things flying. And he's like, for the tomatoes. I'm like, oh, he's paying for them. Hilarious.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't even realize that till way later on, till I was watching like a recap video. I was like, why is he just throwing bottle caps at people? Like, it's just crazy. But I mean, even the first episode, right, where we see him, and I think before we do that, like, are we clear from spoilers? Does everybody give their non-spoiler thoughts? Scott, do you want to give some non-spoilery thoughts before I get into this exact scene?
Where we pour the milk.
Yeah, they all die. No,
Everybody's dead.
I mean, I don't know if I can say any more than what you're saying. Like, it's good. I'm enjoying it so far, and you can go spoilers. I'm still gonna watch it. So
Okay, yeah. I just want to like shout out this one scene in particular. That's why, because when we first
okay.
meet him, okay, this show starts off with one of the best intros I've ever seen. Like, we get a vision of Cooper Howard before he becomes a ghoul and on Fallout Day, right?
Oh yeah.
But
yeah.
while we see that we're given context to he was an actor, something like he's washed up now. He has to perform at children's birthday parties. His daughter is there. He seems like a good guy. And he's like teaches her the thumb thing. Later on, the thumb thing means something completely different towards the end of the show. And we just kind of see this guy and where he starts off. Now, fast forward to the end of the episode where we meet the ghoul, and all those guys are surrounding him. They're trying to hire him for the job, and he's like, oh, whenever I hear there's one last job, it makes me think that, their heart was never in it. They're trying to get out of this. And he's like, but me, I do this shit for the love of the game. And I was just like, God damn, like
So good.
it just hit, man. I was like, that could come across so fucking cheesy, probably like the way I just did it. But with him, it
No,
landed.
when you said it, I could see him doing it.
Right.
I just love him as an actor too. Anything he's in,
Bruh.
like he's got this swagger about him.
Yeah.
Like his head moves, and like no matter what, like he was in that show Vice
look like a
Principals. It's a
human
very hilarious
peacock.
show. I recommend watching that. And like same thing, like he's like the same dude, but he could be anybody in the
Right.
way as well. Like and
Yeah.
it just works. Like I don't know what it is. He's just got this swagger about him, like you're saying, and it's just like it always works. So like when he was doing it as a mutant, like I'm like, dude, this mutant is fucking cool. Immediately when he was saying that and stuff, I was like, I don't know if anyone else could do this, and I'd like it as much. Like
Right.
he's so
just-
good.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those guys that could just pull off some crazy shit that not a lot of people can. And he has this presence to him, and it's a perfect balance because you're right. We get to see him in the beginning, then we see Lucy and what her life is like, and Mrs. Perfect, Perfect World, like everything seems good. That whole society in Vault 33 seems perfect. We also see Maximus, and he's getting like the shit end of the stick. Like everything about his life looks rough, tough. Like it just looks so shitty. But they feel like they're called to a higher purpose. At least the rest of the Brotherhood of Steel. And then you round it out with the ghoul. And God, these three main characters paint this world, the picture of this world so well. It's man, I was blown away by it. And I didn't really play the games. I think I played like 20 minutes of Fallout 2 or something like that. And I never really went back and was like, it wasn't a game I was like, I gotta play. But after watching this show,
100%.
I'm like, I gotta go
Yeah.
in and play this game. This
Exactly.
is fucking insane.
I got Fallout 4, and for whatever reason, it like didn't take at the time. But now I'm like, it's like I get to see other parts of the world, and I'm like, fuck, I want to go in now, with a different look at it, and it seems like it's gonna be a really fun game. Like,
Yeah, the vault lore and the whole lore of the situation is so deep. I spent too many hours like, oh, the lore of Fallout and the timeline and just like blah blah
Yeah,
blah blah.
me
And
too.
it's
Me
so
too.
interesting, so interesting that you can have that much depth, and this is giving you so much callbacks to the show is giving you so much callbacks to the video games, and they do a really wonderful job at giving you everything that you would want as a person who plays the games and someone who doesn't. Like we talked about before when Halo came out, and even before that when Last of Us came out, video game movies or shows are like can be a thing now. And this is continuing on that same stratosphere. And on top of that, you've got the writing so good so well that you have these three characters.
If you
so
said
good
writing
well.
so good, that would have completely shot your whole
Yeah.
argument.
Writing so best good that
Writing so
you
best
have
good.
these three separate characters from three separate factions, three separate points in time that are going through so much different things, so much traumas of the wasteland and the vault and blah blah blah, encompassing all these things. And the biggest thing that's keeping them together is like the human element that's still the hope for the survival of everything within this desolate place. And you don't really you get that in The Last of Us, that hope, but with this you can kind of see like everybody's pushing forward in a meaningful way, even though it's kind of more of a like a Badlands kind of a situation. What was that show that was on that's the Badlands?
I
Borderlands.
think it was like in
Borderlands.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a game.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the one too.
That game, yeah, and that one's coming out too. But it seems like we are maybe in an era of great video game adaptations, and I'm so happy we're here. Like, we knew it's been good because we've been playing games since we were little kids, but it was always one of those things. It's like comic books were for the longest time. Like,
Mhm.
oh, those stories are for kids. Like, that's, you can't actually make something adults would want to tune in for. But it's been there, and the storytelling has been there.
Yeah.
Obviously, with the amount of money video games are making, it's about time Hollywood's catching on to like what makes this stuff so great. And only recently I feel like we've gotten that with comic books, but this may be the new reign of video games. Also on the side, this game, Fallout 76, also hit record numbers on Steam post this show coming out, with at the peak, as of Sunday, April 14th, 39,455 people were playing, which is ridiculous from what it was. It was probably in the hundreds before this show came out. And for it to be in like the tens of thousands is pretty wild. So I think it just speaks to how well they've knocked it out of the park with this game. And
Yeah.
if you're a really big video game fan, or at least if you're a really big Fallout fan, there's still a ton of Easter eggs in there. I'm sure you've probably seen them too, right, Drake? Of like all the different Easter eggs that they put in the show.
Yep.
And even though there's moments, like, I don't know if you guys felt the same way already, like even in the first couple episodes, Scott, but there's certain moments where they focus on something and you're like, that must be something from the game. Although it still works with the story. You know what I mean? Whether it's
Yeah.
there's like the bobblehead guy or the bottle
posters.
caps.
The poster, yeah, like that dude that's always yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So they just do this good blend of of fan service for the people who play the games, but also, again, to your point, Drake, like making a great story that anybody could watch and anybody can jump in and just be like, what is this world? And it's like, how many different post-apocalyptic things can we see and still be amazing? Well, this just shows maybe this is an endless form, and maybe video game movies and shows are here to stay.
Hopefully, please, Jesus. I mean, when you think about potential video games that were movies that got adapted to video games, but now you could get into video games that can now be adapted to movies and vice versa. Like, who doesn't want to see like a better zombie movie? Because I think the last real one we got was maybe Army of the Dead on the Netflix.
Right, the
Snyder
Zack
one.
Snyder one.
The Snyder
Yeah.
ones. Even before that, World War Z. But we haven't seen a great one since, 28 Days Later. So,
Right.
yeah,
And The
maybe we
Walking Dead, I think,
Walking Dead. Yeah.
was filled that void for a long, long time
Yeah,
for a
yeah.
lot of
Thank
people.
you. Thank you, Kirkman. Um, but I think at that point in time, I think there's an availability, right, where interactivity or interaction with movies might help elevate. That could be like the fifth D. So imagine like you go into a movie theater and
50.
yeah, dude, you just get the fifth D. You just get to like, what if you could interact with the movie as a video game while you're watching the movie? That could be interesting. It would be hard, but also they're spraying
Oh,
air,
really?
water
The
at you.
50 would be hard?
Yeah, it would be so hard.
Yeah.
Damn.
Not many people could take it.
I,
Stupid.
I don't know. You'd probably have to sign a waiver, but
For sure.
they could probably take maybe 40, 50 people at a time into the fifth D.
Yeah. Without a doubt.
He's taking groups down. All that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. It's only so much D you could give in one time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. I think that this opens up the realm for movies and shows so much, and man, Fallout just knocks it out of the park. I don't want to spoil too much for you, Scott, because I think
Okay.
It's real
this
good.
show, what's beautiful about it too is it reveals more about itself as it goes on. Like, you learn more about the characters in the world as you go through their stories, and you're like, are they going to intersect? Where are they going to intersect? How do they do that? And there's things that get revealed at the last episode that kind of change the way you viewed the whole show.
Oh,
So
okay, cool.
yeah, I
100%.
would. Oh God, it's
Yeah,
just
okay,
really,
definitely.
really
The
well done.
storytelling is really good, and it's layer upon layer. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Side note: the guy who directed it, and I think the executive producer, is also Christopher Nolan's brother, John Nolan. So
Oh, John Nolan?
yeah,
I was gonna be like Stacy
John,
Nolan.
no.
yeah. His brother is Stacy, maybe
John Stacy.
John
John
Stacy
Stacy
Nolan.
Nolan.
That sounds like a strong name. Throw Stacy in
yeah.
the middle of that.
It actually
Yeah,
does, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it takes a strong male to have the name Stacy. So I
Yeah,
agree.
yeah.
All right. Yeah. So anything else when it comes to Fallout? Otherwise, we're going to shift gears to another Amazon Prime property. So Scott can tell us what he thought about the Invincible finale.
Yeah,
Press
yeah.
the
Real quick,
clutch.
the
Yeah.
about the Fallout. It is cool. Like when Fallout 70 was it 76, the
Yeah.
game, when it first came out, everyone was real hyped for it, and then it didn't do too well. Um, I don't know how much the company put back into the game to make it good, but as we know, like sometimes for some it's too late, even though the game's good now, and it's hard to convince people to come back. So
Mm.
it is cool that this show's bringing life to that game again. So it gives them another shot at like, dude, let's get this fucking right and make the game we want to make. Because like not many game studios get that chance for like
Yeah.
without having to move on to a whole new game. So I thought that's pretty cool.
No, it
Um,
is. Like, what's the examples we got? Like Cyberpunk.
yeah,
Um,
Cyberpunk was a huge one.
right?
Another
Like
one was
the way it came back.
the what's the one where you travel through space? It's like super open world.
Starfield.
Starfield.
No, it wasn't. It was before that.
Oh, No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky, because that one
Uh,
they promised like, oh, you could meet up with your friends and blah blah, and it's like it just wasn't there yet. But you can currently do everything they promised. You
Mhm.
can do now,
yeah,
like
it's
or
great.
what they promised then. And there's a
Right.
lot of people went back and played it, but it was that like I don't know, and it's hard when you miss the mark because But
Yeah.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And you know
The,
what? Maybe they'll make a movie about that, and then they'll come back and it'll be bigger than
and
ever.
then that will be a
Like,
movie. Totally.
yeah,
Not only that, they also dropped some more. Like they dropped downloadable content. I don't think like DLC per se, but like some type of content for 76 this week as well, which is crazy because how old is that game? But
yeah.
Since
they
2018.
yeah, they dropped some
Wow,
things that tie in from the show into the game. So
that's
for the
pretty
people
cool.
that went back and played it, you kind of got, a little connection there too. So
Added value, dog.
well, yeah, well done to Bethesda. Well
Hmm.
done to that writing team, like Amazon for taking a chance on it because it all really, really works. Even the power suit, like it could be dumb. It looks even more dumb, I think, than the Iron Man suit, and yet it really works in the show.
Yeah.
It
Hmm.
like looks badass. It looks tough.
And
Yeah,
it
they
makes
just
sense
It,
too.
make
yeah, it
sense.
kind of
Yeah.
reminded me of how Doom Patrol did like
Paw Patrol.
Paw
no
Patrol?
yep,
Live
live
action?
action. Check it out. It's out now.
Oh,
No, but Brendan Fraser's character, what's his like robot? I forget his name.
yeah.
Yeah, Robot
Um,
Man, I think.
Yep.
No,
It might just be that,
no,
but
it
I
is.
kind of forget.
It's
But I think
something
it is right.
yeah,
It's
ridiculous.
like it's like a
It's
simple name.
like because he's like a
Yeah.
1930s, 1940s character.
Yeah. So
He's
it,
like,
it kind of reminded me of like it's like you can tell it's practical. What was cool about the first two episodes is like there's still moments in this show that remind me of old sci-fi where you're like it's not exactly how we want it to look, but it's like it's easy enough for me to get my imagination to take it there to where it
Yeah.
probably
Yeah.
wants
right.
it to be. So it's cool to see that robot. I'm sure there's scenes where I'm like, oh, the chest looks a little nerfy, like it bends a little, but dude, who gives a fuck? Like it's cool when he's flying around. Like I get it's like it
Yeah.
fits that feel that they're going for, and like it kind of reminded me of like old sci-fi shows and like a
Mhm.
modern way of doing things. Because there's also really cool shit that happens in the show that's like you could only do with modern CG. So
Yeah.
so far I really dig it. It's cool.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like I didn't run up against any problem, and I find problems where things look wonky usually all the time, but
Yeah.
I didn't run up against any problems with that suit at all. I was like, damn, they did it so well, and it's believable. So,
Yeah.
holy shit, man,
Probably
such a
because it
good
was
suit.
for the tomatoes.
That's a perfect segue.
Yeah,
All
we
right,
need to make
so
that gif. Just send it to each other.
yeah,
For the
definitely,
tomatoes.
we should. I will.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right,
Okay.
Scott, take it away on what you thought about Invincible.
Do it.
I thought the finale was uh crazy epic. There's a lot going on. Of course, it leaves you wanting more for sure. Um, if they said there was another episode coming out the next week, I would kind of expect it as well. But there was so much that happened in it, like so much character shifts. Just getting you ready for like the next chapter for these characters that I think it was like enough. Like some of the big parts that stood out to me was like um Mark going too far,
Yeah.
and being really disappointed in himself, saying I thought you
Mhm.
were stronger. Like
Yeah.
now it just opens that door. He's like what if next time I justify to myself that killing is okay? Like when will it end? So you're like, you feel it. It's cool.
Yeah,
Um,
and it seems like that's been his fear the whole time. Like, I don't want to be like my dad. And
yeah,
now he's finally crossed that line where it's like you're like your dad in a way now.
right. And and like to coincide with that, like at the end of the episode too, he's talking with his mom and he's like, I can't go back to college. Like he's basically like, I gotta be like fucking Goku and Vegeta and just train all year long to be ready for that big fight, dude.
Yeah, like
Like
Sonic and Shadow. Yeah.
this is my
There
job.
you go.
Yeah.
So-
Um
Good callback.
yeah, which makes sense because you're like in the grand scheme of things, he's if like the world's gonna end in X amount of years or days or what have you, him going to school is literally a distraction. Like that's not
Totally.
gonna add to him being able to do his job better. So it makes
For
sense.
sure.
Hard conversation. And he's knowing now, like, as much as I hate it, I'm gonna have to like dive a little deeper and maybe ride the line of this like releasing control and remaining in control. Like it's gonna be like real hard. It's gonna be a fine line. But that's the only way he's gonna get like real good. Um, yeah, we say real good. I'm just a viewer, but if I was in that world, I'd be terrified, just as terrified as him. But
Hmm.
it's good. They do a really good job of making any cartoon that makes me care about the character. I'm like, they are doing a freaking good job, and this is like
Yeah.
definitely one of them where I'm like sad for him, sad for this character. I was like, when the mom got her arm broke, I was like, oh fuck, like don't
Yeah.
kill her. Like
Seriously.
I was so
Yeah.
scared after that. Like that
I
was
know.
gnarly.
I
Throwing
know. I was like, is he
babies.
gonna lose his
Jesus.
mom? Is he gonna lose his brother? Like,
Yeah,
he can't even get back. Every time he does, he goes into like another portal. Like, what is he gonna do?
yeah,
And
that was a
yeah,
cool fight too. Like the way
and
they did it.
it was. And the different worlds he goes to, where one is the dinosaur world, where instead of the humans evolving, it was like the dinosaurs. So they all talk. That was
Yeah,
like, oh, right off the bat, you're like, okay, all the dimensions he's going to are gonna be wacky cuckoo,
yeah.
and you kind of like flip everything on its head. So when you get to the other worlds, it starts, it's just kind of believable at that point.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Very Planet of the Apes feeling.
Yep.
To come back to that. Um, it was cool, like the Marvel nod, like with the Arachne
Yeah.
Kid. And it's funny too, he's like, I don't know if you're the good guy.
Oh,
Like,
like yeah, like was Agent Spider, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Agent Spider. And like he's clearly beating up like if
Doc
he went off of
Ock.
his own comics, he'd know, but he's like, I don't know. This could be like you could be a bad dude beating up on a good guy. Like
Right,
it was
right.
just kind of funny to think about that. Like it's you as a viewer, again, it's so easy to be like, that's clearly the bad guy. But
So
like
you're a
you don't know.
man?
Yeah.
You dress
Right.
up as a bat?
That was great
Yeah,
too.
that one was great too. Like they didn't even need to show it. That's how
Yep.
iconic Batman is. They just need to show his cape flapping in the wind.
Yeah.
With the red night sky that looked just like the animated series. It
Yeah.
was like enough nods. You're like, I know exactly where he is and who he's talking to.
Yeah,
And
that was so sick.
that was
Um
great.
yeah, The Walking Dead, that was
Yep.
cool. Um what else was there? Oh, the future them coming to save him in the end was pretty
Mm.
awesome.
Oh,
Yo.
like
Like
yeah,
they're
it
like,
was like
we've
the
been searching
future
for you this whole
Guardians.
time. Yeah. That was pretty gnarly. Because then you wonder, like, man, what was there? You kind of want to see like a side story of like everything they went through without Mark. And like
Right.
maybe them losing everything and they're barely surviving and they finally find him just so they can maybe I mean, who knows how linear the timeline is? Like maybe it just helps another timeline, maybe not necessarily theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
But
but
you're right. I thought about that too because I'm like, how long did they wait or like try to find him for 20 years? For even 10 years? I think it was more than 10 years, but
yeah,
let's say they were looking for him for 20 years. How bad must have been shit where they were at in order for them to keep looking for him for 2 decades? That I thought about
Wow.
that too. And to
yeah,
your point, yeah, I don't think him going back to his timeline helps them in any way. I think it just because even she says like, don't tell me you love me, like tell her
yeah,
where he's talking about Adam Eve. And that was another crazy part too, because I don't think it benefited them in any way. They just knew if that universe doesn't get him back, they're effed.
yeah. They're gonna end up
Mm.
maybe like them.
Yeah,
Which yeah, it's just heavy. Like there's a lot of like, oh shit. And then
it's a
the
deep
ending,
thinker, that one.
it's a deep thinker for show. The when Nolan's talking with Alan,
Yeah,
and then Nolan's like, I think I miss my wife. Like we see him changing throughout this thing, but that was like, I guess that was the biggest line because the last time he spoke about her, like that's most notable is like what stands out is like, you're nothing but a pet to me. Like maybe it was
yeah,
just out of anger, probably, But and
I
also
don't
him being
know.
like, I'm a Viltrumite. Like there was probably a thing where he was definitely feeling the way he is now, but there's this thing instilled with him, like I'm better than them. They are less
Mhm,
than. Get these thoughts out. Like so, he was so good at pushing them out. Now he's getting to
mhm.
the point where he's like, yeah, you know what? Maybe that was like brainwashy, and like my feelings were legit. So these
It's
could have
like a
been
lot
feelings
of
he's had.
Americans with like Chinese people.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's kind
Exactly.
of what it seemed like. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Just ignorance.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I think so, but you're right. I there seemed to be this sense of like I'm a elevated creature beyond you, and
Hmm.
I really do feel like he thought she was a pet. At least like something about the praying mantis mom relationship changed a lot for him. I mean, maybe also him floating through space, all
Yeah.
depressed, but I'm excited to see Omni Man again because it's like we only got that one episode. It's like Mark sees him again. They fight off the Viltrumites. They take Omni Man, and then that was it. And
Hmm.
so we just found out that we're getting seasons 4 and 5. They've both been greenlit. So yeah, I'm so excited to see Omni Man join up again with Mark.
Dude, hell yeah. I'm excited to see Alan actually go to battle with these Viltrumites because we know he's a lot stronger now, and I kind of want to see him like let loose. That'll be cool. And then
Hmm.
I'm interested to see if the brother gets to live that long to see what he ends up turning out to be, because it was interesting to see what's his name, Levi, saying like, oh, I've been to like so many other dimensions, I've never seen this, like your brother, you know, I've
Oh,
never run into him. So
hmm.
that was interesting. This is the one dimension it seems like where Mark's mom maybe is like, or he got to like grow up with his mom, like
Yeah.
the mom had some sort of influence on him, so he would be like a good person. There's like the one
Hmm.
universe where he's a good guy, so it's interesting. Like his brother exists in that universe, and like maybe, I mean, hopefully, of course, I'm still hoping they like he grows up, they team up, and they do badass things to get like together with the dad and like whatever. But and
Yeah.
Alan, but
Hmm.
yeah, I'm interested.
Yeah,
Overall,
man.
really cool episode. A lot happened, and it went by real quick. But again, I'm like left wanting more, and I'm
Yeah.
torn between wanting to read the comics
Hmm.
or just waiting.
I
Part of me
know.
wants to just read up until where it's kind of where it is, because I
Mm.
know like things happen out of order. But
Yeah. I've definitely had it where the comics have set up some expectation. That's like me with Thor Love and Thunder. Like
yeah,
the comic
Yeah.
was so damn good and then the movie we got, like there's a lot of people that really liked it, but I didn't because I constantly was comparing it to the comic.
yeah,
And yeah, I think I want to stay away from it
me
whether
too.
it's The Boys or with
It's,
Invincible. It just means that we're going to have to wait a whole damn year, which is
I
going
know.
to be tough. But season three's lines are already done. It's been greenlit for season 4 and 5 as well. So I think we just got to be patient and it'll be worth it.
Yeah, that'd be
Patience.
good.
Yeah.
If shows like Fallout and stuff just keep popping up, then we'll be set. No worries.
Absolutely. Yeah, Drake, did you have something to say? I know it
Uh,
looks like you're doing some heavy Googling here.
no. I'm just continuing to Google into the Invincible lore, and I just really appreciate this animated series just because I haven't really ventured too much outside of like the main comic books, like DC and Marvel, some Image because of Spawn, but yeah, I'm just really glad that this exists, and I will read it once. I think it kind of continues to move forward, but the patience is nice because it gives me something to look forward to, especially on the Amazons.
That's true.
Yeah, definitely. Side note too, I didn't realize they're sometimes in the same room together. So Stephen Ewan and Sandra Oh were in the same room recording their lines. So
That's
I thought that was
cool.
pretty cool. I was like, I thought they were like normally in a solo box by themselves, right? And they
Yeah.
listen to the other person or like watch the characters move on screen and then they just say their lines. But
Yeah,
they're actually in the same room, so they get to interact a little bit, which I
that
was like, that's
adds
Dude,
a
I'm
cool
sure. Yeah,
dynamic. Yeah,
that I'm
yeah,
sure that adds so much because then they get to just really act. You know, they
mm-hmm,
yeah,
get to play off of each other's emotion and whatnot.
yeah,
That's awesome. I think it
definitely.
comes through in the, because that, I mean, I don't know what scenes they did it, but I could imagine it could have been on the rooftop too when he's talking about like, you know, like not going to college and did, you know, like their difficult conversation. Like it was like they're just sitting there both with their black eyes and like just having like the hardest
It's a great face.
conversation. Like,
Yeah,
both punched in the right eye is super unfortunate. But
right.
yeah, it was a really cool scene. So
It was great
yeah.
finale to that show. Yeah, I can't wait to get season 3 back. All right, Scott, why don't you also take it away? You saw something that it's been really killing at the box office. I think this weekend it was just beat out by Civil War, but
Ooh.
it's been doing really good, which is Kung Fu Panda 4. What'd you think
Ooh.
about this one?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was a pretty fun movie.
The best one?
I'm sorry,
Was it
say it
the
again.
good best?
Was it
Good
the
best well?
best Kung Fu
I
Panda
don't think it
movie
was the
so far?
best one,
Oh, okay.
honestly. I
That
still really
was
enjoyed it.
1, 2, 3.
1 and 2 are probably like up there.
Okay.
Yeah.
They are
That's what
both
I was
really
gonna
good
say.
because
Totally.
I kind of rewatched all of them, and 1 for sure is like it's the best because he's just he's a dude like never thinking he joined the Avengers and he does like
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's got this kid. Oh my god! And then like his style is like it's just hilarious. Jack Black. It's like a whole new property. It lands everything, so it's great. 2 is great
Skadoosh.
too because it like was able to carry over. Like, I'm like I don't know how you're gonna top 1, but there was a lot of funny shit that happened in 2. I gotta say, one of my favorite things too is when he's in the distance and he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take you down," and blah blah. And then they zoom out and he can't hear him. And the guy's like, "What?" It's Gary Oldman. Like, what
Oh
are you
yeah.
saying? And I'm like, he's still talking. I'm like, that's hilarious because that happens in every comic book, whatever we say. Like, we just assume the other guy can hear him,
Right, right.
which is great. But yeah. And then I think like 3 was not as strong, and then 4, it's not as strong, but it's still really good. I think the villain in this
Mm.
was really cool. The villain's a chameleon, like this
Okay.
tiny chameleon, and like always wanted to like become a kung fu like master or whatnot, or even just learn it. But they were so tiny that they focused all of their, I guess, everything into like sorcery. So it
Hmm.
kind of went down a dark path, but in turn was able to like,
Dark
I mean, they're a
magic.
chameleon, but through sorcery become basically like anybody. So
Oh.
they could mimic all these kung fu masters, but they couldn't like do all the kung fu. So the thing
Ooh.
was, at the end of 3, Po from gets that staff that can enter the spirit realm,
Wait,
and
it's
the
called a
whole
post staff,
it's
not a
not called a
bow
Po
staff.
staff. Po receives the staff
Oh, okay, but it's
from
post. It's
Pose.
post
I
staff,
forget the
not
Staff.
post staff.
huh
Yeah.
It's not. It's not a
Pose.
post staff. It's post staff.
Yeah.
Po's.
Apostrophe S.
It's his
Ah,
staff.
Yeah. Yeah.
got
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Common
Yeah. Yeah.
misconception, but we got it. We got it there in the
So,
end.
are you saying when this chameleon got beat, you could call him a karma chameleon?
Come,
Come, come, come, come, come, come, Yeah. That's all we can
yeah,
sing. Otherwise, we're gonna
exactly.
hit with copyright infringement. All right.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Take it easy, folks. Go listen to the song.
Whoa. Whoa.
Check us out on Spotify after you
George
listen to
Michaels.
that. Yeah. So, the hell was I? He had that staff he got from the turtle. I forget his name. We love
I don't know.
tangents.
Yeah.
Yeah, he got his staff. The whole thing is the chameleon wants the staff because they want to get into the spirit realm, steal all the kung fu from all the masters, and then like learn all the kung fu, and then I guess take over the world.
Mm.
And then Po has to like face all of them basically. And he like as she's taking the kung fu, she like sees like Tai Lung and all that. They're all like in these cages and they're all talking to him. And he's kind of like he's able to grow and stuff. So like it was cool. It's a cool take on everything. You don't get the other 5 or yeah, the other 5. The Furious 5 or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It probably has to do with money. Like you'd have to pay all these people,
Yeah.
Angelina Jolie, Jackie Chan, all them. So it makes sense in that regard. So but it also felt like it was like a more him movie. But it was cool. Like there's still a lot of cool fighting. The choreography is always great in this and like interesting the way they make him like fight in his like own style.
Yeah.
The comedy is funny. Like so overall it's a good movie. It's a fun movie. Not the strongest, but if you're a fan of the Kung Fu Panda, check it out.
Right on. All
Yeah,
right, I
yeah.
dig it. Nice. Well, yeah, I definitely want to watch it. I like those movies. They seem like a ton of fun. All right, Drake just dropped out, so we
Oh,
can
okay.
we can wait a second because I think he was supposed to take over the
He's
next
like, oh,
part.
am I supposed to talk about something?
Well, you know what? We can move on without him because this next part, there he is. The next part is about X-Men 97, episode
Bro.
4, which we were able to talk about last week. Let's quickly touch on it. This was the episode that started with Jubilee's birthday. She gets sucked
Oh,
into the
yeah.
Motendo world. and there was a lot of fun there. And then at the end, we get basically the life death comic with Storm and Forge kind of getting together.
Hmm.
Yeah, what are your thoughts quickly on episode 4, Scott?
I thought it was cool. That episode, I don't know if they're going for that, but that felt very much like those Saturday morning cartoons where they were like, you get 2 episodes in a half-hour block, like a SpongeBob or whatnot. You get like these 10-minute whatever. So
Mm.
two separate adventures, both really cool, and they like had a good story arc throughout. Like it was a solid story they told. Um, Obviously the second one had a little more weight to it, but yeah, still really cool. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a nice change up.
They, yeah, they did a good job. It was the only episode so far for me that felt a little bit rushed. Like the life death story that we talked about last week, it's just so good. It's probably one of the best love stories in a comic I've read,
Yeah.
which I haven't read a lot of them, but that was by far that's probably the top of the list. And there's just more room to breathe in that relationship. It seems like it's more personal because Forge makes the gun in the comic. This one he kind of makes the technology that the executioner uses to then shoot her, but like Forge actually shoots her or is the reason she gets shot in the comic. So it was okay, but I liked the Jubilee part a lot, a lot.
Hmm.
Yeah, it just seemed fun. It like reminded me, to your point, of like Saturday morning cartoons and Chuck E. Cheese and sleepovers and that kind of shit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a ton of fun, and I liked seeing Jubilee at her peak. And
Hmm.
so I think what this show is doing really well is we're seeing a lot of characters kind of towards their peak level of power, and
Hmm.
that's sick. Like
Hmm.
first episode, Cyclops. Second episode, well, I don't really remember what happens in the second episode.
Was it
I
the
know
Jean
that
Grey? Oh wait, that was the third one. Yeah.
yeah, third
Fourth
one
one.
was like
Oh.
Madeline Jean Grey, where she turns like the whole mansion crazy and it turns it into hell, and we get to see some
Uh,
powerful parts of Magneto. But in this episode, now kind of jumping to this one, we get to see the future version of Jubilee, and I really liked that. I also liked how they brought back the original voice actress to play the older version, literally passing the torch from one actor to another, from
Oh,
her
that's
older
cool.
self to her younger self. So I really, really thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Now, yeah, I think that kind of brings us into episode 5.
Yeah.
And
Oh wait, real quick.
yeah, go for it.
I know you kind of said like her in her prime, but I didn't realize like making blades out of fireworks and shit was like. I'm like that is so cool.
Yeah,
Like it,
that
it is
was.
cool to see them like. I'm assuming they're saying that like, okay, what would she look like in her prime? What would she like? What would be ideal for her to like fashion it into? Like, what's the most realistic or like the most advantageous
Like
way of
plot.
using it?
Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
like it's cool to be
plausible
like,
way
oh,
of
it'd be cool.
advancing
Like
it.
she makes destructo disc like Krillin, like it's just fucking. It was
Funny,
freaking
funny.
cool. I was like,
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah,
that was. And then she was also like, I thought she was wearing skates, but it looked like she was just kind of using her
yeah, her
firework
powers.
ability, yeah, on her
Yeah,
feet.
that's
So I was
freaking
like,
cool.
that was cool. And yeah, the comic or the suit that she wears from her future version was
Hmm.
literally pulled out of a 90s comic. So it
Oh,
like
nice.
looked very much like that too. But yeah, just the idea of like there's upper levels to these characters, and the show in the animated series never really touched on it, and I
mm,
appreciate that this show is. I mean, we've gotten that
Yeah.
for so long with anime. Anime always finds another way to get another level. Like
Hmm.
Goku always finds another way to evolve and to advance. Same thing with Vegeta, like with One Piece, right? They find new gears, right? Like they're at
Yeah.
gear 5
mm.
now, right? So it's like makes sense. Like why wouldn't our cartoons do the same? And would they always be stuck at the same power level? Of course not. So yeah, I do appreciate that this show is doing that. That was so sick.
Yeah. I hope they continue to
Nice.
do that with all like powers based things moving forward, like finding interesting ways, like we talked about before, My Hero Academia style of like making something that's benign into something that's awesome, and making something that's awesome and finding new and intricate ways to bring it out there.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
think they will because I'm assuming all the like the writers and stuff now, they're I mean they're kind of around our age too, right? Like they all kind of grew up with anime as well, so that's a really good point, Tom. It's like you got writers now who are big fans of how they do things overseas, and like this is how you move like action.
Hmm.
Like you can still like write differently and whatnot, but there are certain things where you're like everyone wants to see the main character like maybe even if they don't level up, like do their 100% what they got right now. Like, what
Yeah.
would that look like? So yeah, it's
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think that's as good as any
Speaking of,
point to kind of jump
yeah,
into episode 5, where
Yeah.
I feel like we got to see some upper levels for Gambit and we got to see some upper levels for Magneto.
Mm.
And man, they brought it. Let's just quickly go over this episode, and I kind of want to take it the before the party and the after the party, because it is a complete tonal shift. It's not 2 episodes, and yet it feels like, wait, where we started and where we end. I was happy at one moment, and now I need therapy. So I
yeah.
think that it's pretty. It's pretty. You can laugh out loud, Drake. It's a podcast. Um, yeah, he's like miming the laugh over here. Like, yeah, but
He mutes
it
himself.
really is. We see that the rest of the world also is now kind of trying to bring mutants to the forefront, and they're on the news. Shit's popping off behind the scenes there with like Jean and Scott and Wolverine. But on the other side, there's a group going to Genosha made out of Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit. And yeah, jeez, this is just a mature show. I don't know. Take it away, Drake.
Um, to be honest, like the thing that stands into my mind the most is just like you talked about how Gambit. I've never seen Gambit do anything like he did in the episode, and for it to kind of end it that way, we're gonna go spoiler free for now. Like it, how it ended in that way was kind of I didn't really expect that at all. I didn't expect any of that kind of drama and character development to occur because I don't remember that happening in the original episodes. And so to kind of have such a like an adult theme, but to kind of have it happen in such a cool way, I was very taken aback by it. What did you guys think?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same way. Also, this speaking of anime, this kind of reminded me, like, I was trying to think of why it felt like a movie. Um, but because you brought up the anime, it seems like anytime they do like an anime movie, a lot of them, they'll take those characters and take them to an island, and then something will happen on that island. Like My Hero
It's a good
Academia,
point. Yeah.
One Piece, they'll find like a new island, a new like one-off kind of thing. And this felt
Mm-hmm.
like that. Like, oh, the team goes to the island. And it's
Right.
like in the beginning it felt cool, and you're like, this is just like a movie. And like it felt like a movie. Like, even though it was what, like 30, 20 minutes?
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
36 minutes for like
Oh,
the
36.
runtime.
Okay.
God, why do I know that? Such a nerd. But
It
yeah,
was
it
no, it
was
was actually 36. I just remember saying that now.
yeah.
But yeah, it felt like a full-fledged movie. I think because of that, and the weight it had, like it was just, oh man, it's so insane.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think where it starts off, right? Like with Magneto, Rogue, and Gambit, we've seen in the previous show in the animated series. We even get a callback to it in episode 4, where Jubilee goes to Genosha, and we see like all the people like are the mutants are slaves, and they're using them as labor. And now to see what Genosha has become, it seems like utopia. It seems like the perfect place to live if you're a mutant. Also,
Mhm.
again, a little counter to what Professor Xavier wanted, which was like coexistence with humans and mutants. But anyways, it's a safe place for all the mutants, right?
Yeah.
And it looks awesome. Like there's ice cream going on. Like mutants are running around. We see kids like Pixie and Leech and Glob, and they're like going through the city and just acting like kids. And people are like bongo drums and dancing, and multiple man is like, oh, one man, multiple man act, doing all these things.
Yeah, yeah.
And like it just looks awesome. Like it looks like vacation. And then behind the scenes, we know that Gambit doesn't really trust what's going on. He doesn't trust the relationship between Magneto and Rogue. He doesn't trust, because like he saw her actually get close to him, and so he's questioning everything. But I think he's more just questioning, not really the place so much as like, if Magneto says this place is great, there has to be something wrong with it because I don't trust him.
Right.
And then it all comes to a head one night where she's there. The council, which is very much the council that we see in the Krakoa era, which is like the new comic book run that the X-Men comics have been in, that they've asked Magneto to be the ruler, the king, whatever. And his one thing is he wants a queen, and that's Rogue. And so automatically this is gonna suck for Gambit because Rogue now has second thoughts and she basically breaks up with him. Like talk about the imagery too, where he's like throwing cards in the fire and he throws the Queen
Dude,
of
I feel
Hearts.
so bad for
Right? Yeah, he's crying and you're like, damn, Gambit just gotten dogged the whole time. He's never got any play. He's never been able to touch the girl, yet he's been 100% about her. And
Yeah,
now she's
see, it's
just
like
gonna
that works
run
both
off.
ways. I didn't like. I know it's a cartoon, and all, but it's like she's like, I can't touch. It's like, yeah, he can't either, dude. Like, but he's still here.
Right.
Like, what the
True.
you
And
know,
then yeah, and that's the thing. Like I said, like I
we seen him with the cutoff shirt. He's a good-looking guy. Okay, he
Yeah.
can get other
Yeah.
ladies.
Abs.
he's got like a 20 pack under there. It just
Yeah,
doesn't
like-
make sense. But yeah, like if anybody I blame in this love triangle, it's kind of Rogue, and maybe that's not fair, but this is the reason why. After we see them at the party and he's all slicked up, ponytail back, she comes flying in like the queen, and then Magneto floats up to, and then the hands come in and they touch, and it's like,
That whole
You
scene, I
know?
did not like that. Just because, like, first, of course, you're like, dude, okay, rub it in. Like, Gambit's right
Right.
there, dude. And
Yes,
then
that's what I'm
she
saying.
kisses him, right? And then
In
she's
front
like,
of everybody.
yeah, in front of everyone, and then goes, yeah, it's not. I'm not about this. You're like, why do it in front of everyone and
Right.
Gambit? Like, that's dick, dude. Like,
That
if you want to
is.
kiss him, do that one more time behind.
She's a rogue, man.
closet
She's
or
a
something.
rogue.
She's a rogue.
Apparently.
I felt like that was like a. That was, I mean, that it was written that way, but Rogue, come on, man. Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
That's fucked up.
it is. But it's in a weird way, and that's why these characters are so good, and that's why it feels more mature. Is that you can also kind of see things from Rogue's perspective, whereas like if you couldn't touch anybody, wouldn't you want to be with the one person you could touch? Like,
Yeah. The old guy, the dick bag. Women do
yeah,
choose
but
them.
he can touch her. He can
That's true.
like he can actually kiss her. Even in the opening title sequence, we see like Gambit's holding her, and she has to put her hand between her lips and his lips, and it's like that does suck. How old is she? She's like what, mid-20s? Like she wants to get some action, and like I can't fault her for it, but it is shitty how she reveals it to the rest of Krakoa, or sorry,
Yeah, that was
Genosha
a
in this
weird.
moment.
That I think
Yeah.
that was the thing. Like, that was a weird way to do it.
It was. Yeah, it
Mhm.
was. Okay, so before we move on, let's talk about the other love triangle. What do you guys think about how everything played out with Cyclops, Jean, and Wolverine?
That poor guy,
Which one?
Wolverine.
Okay, yeah.
Wolverine is like, he's the strongest dude there. Like, in the way where he's like, she kisses him. He's like, hey, like, this didn't happen. The story is you and Scott. That's the way it is. Pretend like this didn't happen. And you're like, dude, that guy more than anything wants to be Mr. Steal Your Girl, but he doesn't.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're
He's
both
got a giant
questioning
M
like,
on his shirt. That's why if he had the giant M, he'd
Yeah.
be Mr. Steal
Yeah.
Your
yeah,
Girl.
exactly.
Yeah.
And Scott and Gina are already together and they're fucking it up. You know what I mean? Like Scott's like, oh no, I love both of you. Like, you fucking idiot. You don't know what to say. Like, don't say that shit, dude. And
I
then,
mean, he did have a baby with her though. Like,
yeah, I know, but still, like,
and
he just.
it's still done better than what happened in the comics, which was, oh, you have a baby, oh, like Jean's back, peace, I'm out, and then just leaves her and the baby.
Yeah. No,
That
and
sounds
granted,
fine.
like, the way they're
I don't see
reacting,
any problem with that.
it's not like it's so out of pocket. Like, oh, I would never imagine this could even be a possibility. Like, granted, I could definitely see this going down the way it does, and that's why it works, right?
Mhm.
But if you're looking at like who's getting screwed the most, like, I feel so fucking bad for Wolverine. That dude just needs to like get out of that. Like,
Yeah,
I know it's easier said than done, but like the longer he holds on, you know, like the more he's hurting himself. Like, he can heal from a lot of things, but a broken heart.
is one of them.
For the tomatoes.
The tomato. But yeah, I just felt so bad for him. I'm like, dude, just stop her. Just let them fucking
right
fall apart
Like, why are you
themselves.
doing this to yourself? Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, so it's funny, like in both these love triangles, like someone gets hurt, and it's two favorite characters for a lot of people, right?
Oh
It's
yeah.
Gambit on one end, it's Wolverine on the other, and yeah, it's just crazy. Like maybe this does go over the heads of little kids, but I just like, I don't know what I would think as a little kid. You know what I mean? Like if I was watching this with young Thomas Craig the Ninth, like would I have to explain to him like why that was bad or why, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I'm like maybe overthinking this, but like it
You're like,
just
son, This man's being a pussy.
Yeah.
And this woman
Right.
needs to figure her shit out.
No, but they
Right.
do it in the
And so
Avatar
does
too.
and so does
Legend of
Skylar.
Korra, there's like love triangle. Like love triangles are in everything. They have it in freaking Hunger Games. They
Oh,
have
Twilight.
like Twilight. Like it's everything. And
Yeah.
I really hate love triangles. Like I
Yeah.
any of the
It's-
characters that's like if you're
It's the
like the
worst love
other,
shape.
we both love her. I'd be the first one to be like, nah, I'm good. Go.
Right.
Like
You know what?
I-
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I don't disagree with you. I do normally hate it, but you know what? I think that the Rogue, Gambit, and Magneto one is the most interesting love triangle I think
I
I've
agree.
ever seen
I agree.
because of the whole inability to touch element. Like
Yeah.
it's so interesting, and it's something you could only do in like sci-fi or comics where it
Mhm.
actually makes sense, and everybody's reason like kind of makes sense. A little less for Magneto, but like for Rogue and Gambit, it 100% makes sense why they would do the things they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. That's why that scene with him throwing the cards in the fire
Yeah.
and them being like, I want more than anything to be with you, but like
Yeah.
the way we want to be with each other doesn't seem like it's a possibility. So should we not be together?
Yeah.
And like, yeah, that's why
Yeah.
that was so like moving. You're like, oh fuck, you feel for
Well-
both of them.
Mm-hmm.
That for sure. You get Magneto. He just
relationship
I don't know what the
archetypes.
fuck, dude. That guy just wants in on Rogue. You're just like,
Well,
get
I
out of here, old
mean,
man, dude. Come on.
Duh. But think about the relationship archetype, right? You have Rogue, who's a young woman who's coming into her own, who has power, and she knows she does have power. But at the same point in time, she's kind of stuck between this young, strong individual in Gambit and this older, knowledgeable man in Magneto. And that's kind of, it's not a uncommon thing in relationships, but in terms of the
Right.
archetypes, that kind of makes sense. Does she want to be with somebody who she can't touch, but she might love and might have more longevity or more in common with, versus someone she can touch, but also has a lot of experience and may be able to like quote unquote teach her things, et cetera, and add value to her. So
Yeah.
that works for me in terms of relationship archetypes. And to your guys' point, the availability or the unavailability of touching really kind of blends it too. Because with Cyclops and Jean and Wolverine, it's just it seems very high schooly. But
You're
with
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Magneto and them, it seems like it's something I would be into. You know?
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's because I'm a Cyclops stan, but I just feel like I understand his perspective. Like he literally thought this was you. Now you're getting mad at him
Yeah, that is
because
heavy.
he loves this version of you, and he also had a baby with her. But now you're mad because he also loves this version that he thought was you. Like
Yeah.
that you know. And it sucks for Wolverine. If anything, Jean just has to like chill the f out. All right. Like I'm mad at Jean the most. Okay, that's where I'm
Too
going.
much
Yeah.
Phoenix in her body.
Yeah, it's funny. Yeah, you hear Jean like she's like, "So what, you just love like
A piece
this
of
person
me?"
they carved out of me." It's like, yeah, when you say it like that, it's awful. But when you say it like that, she is you. So like, what do we?
Yeah.
He doesn't not love you. Like if that's you, then
Yeah.
he does love you. So it's
He
like,
loves you and you plus.
yeah,
Yeah. Dang, man. Scott's a lucky dude. But
Yeah, Scott, you're
Yeah.
the luckiest dude we know.
thanks.
You
man.
are.
Heard that?
Yeah.
absolutely, you're the domino of this group.
I didn't hear
Deadpool
your
reference.
stats.
So, okay, we get to the party. We also see that Maddie goes out on the balcony, and out of nowhere, Cable comes running in very much the Cable that we saw from the animated series. He has
That
that
was
little
cool.
cube that like time allows him to time travel.
Josh
and he's
Brolin.
like, "Mom," and she's like, "You did make it." And he's like, "I can't save you." And gets
That
sucked
was
down
dude, that was
there.
a fucking cool way he got sucked away. That was like do. Like it's
yeah, the
very like
levels.
Tron, like whatever. Like it was fucking cool.
It was.
Reminded me of Flash and the was it BVS? Where's am I too soon? I'm too soon or whatever. And then he's like,
Oh, yeah.
he got sucked away or whatever. that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But it
That's
was
cool.
very cool the
Before
way
he
he
lost his shit, or they lost
yeah
their
before he
shit.
got sucked away. And then he's just like sad. He's like, oh no, like
Yeah,
you're about to die.
right. And that's what happens. All of a sudden, boom, explosions everywhere. Why do I always forget the name? I want to call it the Kaiju Sentinel, but that's not what it is. King
Godzilla Sentinel?
I think they called it the
Big
Godzilla
Sentinel?
Sentinel, but I'm sure there's an actual name for it.
They do. Yeah, I can't think of the name right now. Go for it. Someone take it away on it and start talking about like how shit starts popping off post party.
Yeah, okay, so this fucking Godzilla size Sentinel. So the Sentinels that we see in the show are maybe what 10 times bigger than them, the X-Men? How
Oh,
much times bigger
sure.
do you think?
Say
Yeah,
5
let's just
to
say
10, yeah.
50 feet.
okay, let's say 50 feet. So this giant ass fucking kaiju of a sentinel is dropping ant-sized sentinels. They look like ants falling on their body, but we know they're 50 feet. So this motherfucker is so big.
Yeah.
Like, I was also wondering, like, what is he made of? He's not made of metal. Like, and that's a lot of not metal to run that thing. Like, I didn't
Right?
understand why. I don't know. I mean, I guess it's a big thing, but I was like, man, Magneto, he'd be the dude. You know,
Right.
we'll get
Yeah,
into
you'd
like why
think.
he's not the dude, but yeah, I thought for sure he. I'm like, well, you're dumb. You showed up with metal. He's the dude. So, but it was
Yeah.
like crazy. This thing had 3 heads. I don't know why. Um, maybe he could hit every angle
Computer
like real
processing.
fast, but he's like, "Okay, I'm
Need
your
extra
Chad."
RAM.
Like, um, yeah,
It's
that
called
was
the
gnarly.
Wild Sentinel, by the way. I found it.
The
Wild
wild
Sentinel.
sentinel.
Well,
Okay, yeah,
yeah,
he was
makes
wild.
sense. Yeah.
I feel like he should have had a better
He was
name,
a
but
body boy. Yeah, but he brought the
he's like,
body.
shit's getting wild, bro. He's just shooting green. He's just throwing up on people. Oh, I drank too much. He's just killing people. It was
Bro,
gnarly to
Sentinel.
see people start dying. It was like people getting dusted in like the Marvel in like Endgame or whatnot. It was just like,
Totally. But
Yeah.
worse.
but worse
Yeah.
because you just see like it was a lot of eye contact and then death. Like just like mom beesh. Like it was just like the saddest deaths. Like
I mean,
like a lot of I'm not ready and then just dying. Like I was like, fuck, dude. Every
I
death
shouldn't
I
be
was like, no.
I shouldn't be
It was
laughing,
real
but you
sad.
were so spot on with that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
right. It was like fucking
one
devastating.
it was, and one in particular, we didn't even talk about it, but like we see Nightcrawler again, which they reference like the first time they bring him back to the show, it was the same voice actor, some
Mhm.
30 years later too, which is so cool. Something how or ho, but yeah, and like you see Nightcrawler, he's so happy, and he's like with the crew again. He's like, "Let me show you this, let me show you
Yeah.
that." And then next time you see him, he's like getting blasted, blood's dripping everywhere off of him,
And
and
that
you're
just
like,
goes to
"Man,
show how quick that laser goes, right? Because like
Yeah.
he
right."
just got
Faster
out
than
of that.
teleportation.
Yeah, I was like, holy shit, that was a good way to show like how fast it moves. But oh my god, yeah, just seeing him on the ground like bleeding out, you're like, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Totally. And yeah, we get to see like the Morlocks are stuck, and then Gambit's kind of the only person that's there that's able to go get them.
Mhm.
And what makes this devastating more so later on is that, Leech is there with the rest of the Morlocks, the little green dude. And they're like, "Oh, we're going to die." And he's like, "No, Magneto's going to save us." And, Gambit comes in like a boss, riding the Sentinel head, throws a car, blows it up, is saving all the Morlocks. They're getting out of there. And then, boom, Magneto comes crashing down, and most of the Morlocks get stuck under his protective shield. And King Sentinel, Chad Sentinel, is just vomiting massive
Yeah.
blasts at them, and Magneto's trying to hold it off. And kind of throws a piece of metal around to stop Gambit and Rogue from saving him.
Mhm.
And pretty much Rogue just has to watch it. And then Leech looks up to Magneto, and Magneto drops the line in German, like, "Don't be afraid." And at that point, like, I was watching Christina watching. I shouldn't have, but I already seen the episode. And then she started choking up. I was like, "No!" And then I was like watching her choke up. And I started choking up. I was like, "I know, right?" And
I
like
know, it's so
we're like
sad.
about to cry watching this fucking cartoon.
Yeah, dude.
And I was just like, really, they're gonna do that? Drop in the German line after they had shown flashbacks to him being Jewish in Germany with the star on his shirt and the barbed wire. I was like, wow, this show's really going for it. And then we haven't even got to the Gambit part, but like,
Yeah.
what did you guys think about this whole scene in this battle?
I think that part, especially because we know Magneto, this happens right after it goes Omega level mutant detected. So you're like, oh, okay, here we go, Omega level. Like, you can't beat this. And then when it does, like, not only is that devastating on like on a level, if you didn't even know Magneto, you're just like, this is the guy who's supposed to come in and help us. It's like watching Superman fly in and then get a headshot and die. You're like, what? Like if
funny.
Superman can't do what do we what? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
his statue's up there with Professor X. Like, he's obviously like the king of the land, you
Yeah.
think. And also, I just realized this too. We kind of got pimped in the first episode where
Mhm.
Storm comes in and they're like Omega level mutant. And then she
Yeah.
just like messes everybody up. So like
Yeah.
when we hear that now, we're thinking, oh, he's gonna own, and then he
Yes.
does it, and then yeah, to your point, we get what we get.
Yeah, it
Man.
was. Yeah, it's
What do you think,
devastating. So
Drake?
yeah, seeing that, yeah, devastating. Oh man,
No,
what
no,
I
no.
gotta say.
I felt the same way. Just like the amount of emotion that curtailed up to what as we're gonna get into like Gambit situation is like it almost didn't make sense to me. I was like, why is this happening? Is this supposed to be like some situation where it's like a dream state and this is taking place? Because typically when you're seeing everybody die, you're like, oh, there must be moving into a certain situation. Maybe like it's like a flashback, or if it's like it's a dream to a different realm, and they wake up and everybody's okay. But it did not feel that way.
Yeah,
No.
Um,
on
it
that,
was rough.
literally when that was happening, I was like, "There's that part of you like this can't be the storyline." Like,
Yeah.
I immediately I was thinking like, okay, what's gonna happen is Cable is gonna come back again because obviously it seemed like Cable's been trying to do this. It seems like this is his day after tomorrow.
Right.
Like fuck, I didn't get it this time. I gotta go again. I gotta go again. And I'm like, okay, at the end of this episode, it's gonna reset. Cable's gonna come back or something. And then he fucking does it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Like, jeez.
Yeah.
Maybe you know this. It could be a setup. Maybe sometime down the line he does after so many episodes, and then they're able to reset it or whatever. But I kind of like that they didn't right away because it does let you sit with all that. Um,
Yeah.
not often do superhero type shows and whatnot get you feeling that sort of way. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you expect that sort of thing in like you know, like war movies or whatnot, like, you know, like
Right.
Totally.
dramas.
Yeah, and you're like,
They
there's
can feel
no
just as
time
bad, but
travel or science fiction.
yeah.
But yeah, I think the only other show that's done this for me is the show we just talked about, which is Invincible.
Yeah.
Like that
Yes.
show ends sometimes, and you're like, nah, he didn't just die. And then the next episode, and they're like at the funeral. You're like, what? They actually
Yeah.
killed off that character. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
yeah, that's
Humanizing
why
gods.
I
Yeah.
stand by it. I got a lot of flack online where it's like, I don't think this is for kids. I don't think this is for small kids. And again, I'm not gonna tell anybody how to parent, but like, I don't know how I would show like an 8-year-old this without having to explain a lot of deep shit. Maybe it would go over their head, but like, I don't know. I mean, I think it's geared towards us.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. I mean, unless you're gonna tell the
So
kids that a stork comes and brings a new baby into the world, like,
yeah, it would be like, well, Rogue really wants to get Magneto so they can fuck. You know what I mean? Like that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
only
Yeah.
way you can like explain that
for
more so.
coitus.
Right. But yeah, it just leaves you with this deep like sense of just agony right there. Rogue goes in to try to knock out the king, the wild sentinel. Gambit shoots the motorcycle at her. Then he bosses out, runs up. Asphalt's breaking. He's bouncing off things. Bow staff's out. He's like pole vaulting. Then out of nowhere gets stabbed. So it's like a shock into another shock. And I'm like, holy shit, like, what's going to happen? Charges up the whole thing, explodes it. And then after it explodes, I'm like, oh, but he's all right. Like, he's going to be fine. And then the next thing we see of him is Rogue holding him in her arms. And like, it's just the quiet, like, I can't feel you with the crying into the credits. And so,
Yeah. Oh man, what a line too. You're like,
right, she can finally touch him. And the first time she can, he's lifeless. So
Yeah. So
this
badass how he killed
episode,
the thing, though.
it was,
yeah,
it
he went out
was.
like a boss for sure.
He did.
Um, the writing is so good.
So
Like
I
good.
know.
after that episode ended, I was like, this is what like it's funny, like I'm sure this is what everyone thought. I'm like, this is what we wanted, Marvel. Like any movie
Yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
people are like, I don't really like it. You're like, why do you like it? Is it this? You're like, it's not that. The writing could be this good.
Right.
And this is what everyone expects at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
why pull back in order like, oh, we just won't try as hard, we'll still get money. Like it just like don't do it
Yeah.
if you're not gonna like show up and do it good.
Yeah. do
Like
it
the
fucking
writing in the
right,
show is
dude.
so ridiculously good.
It
like,
is.
Is there?
I'm trying to tell people to watch it. Like people who are like not even familiar with the old cartoon, I'm like,
Right.
just start watching it. It's so good.
Exactly. I've been saying the same thing too. It's kind of like anybody where I'm like, oh, do you watch like whatever Vox Machina or Invincible? And they're like, no, I don't
Right.
watch cartoons. It's like, this isn't a cartoon. Like it is, the
So
medium is a
stupid.
cartoon, but it's not meant for kids,
Yeah.
and you will dig it because I know you like House of the Dragon or the Severance or something big. You know what I mean? Like or
Right.
Ted
Even The
Lasso.
Last of Us.
The Last
Like,
of
you know,
Us.
like, that's
Yeah.
Silly
it's like, yeah.
sentiment.
You like The
People who
Sopranos.
don't
You like
watch
this.
cartoons just because it's a cartoon, like that's like saying, "Oh, I only drink Kool-Aid because other drinks are stupid."
Yeah.
That's what I thought when I first heard people
100%.
say
I agree
it
with you.
was
Like this is
On
like
that one.
fuck, what the fuck?
That's
I
exactly like the
understand.
Kool-Aid thing
I
that
thought you were gonna
Yeah,
Peter
put in
said.
some like
it
Waco
wasn't the best
situation here.
metaphor that I had
Yeah,
off the
you
top of the
fucking you
dome,
went for it though. One of my
but I did
coworkers,
it.
I'm like kind of similar. He won't watch animes. His thing is he's like really white, and he goes, "All my friends are Asian, and if I start liking animes, I'm gonna be a weeb." And I'm like, "That's dumb, dude. Like you can
Yes.
just watch it." But he just doesn't want to be the white guy hanging out with Asian guys who likes anime. And they're like, "Oh, that guy." Like
Yeah.
I don't know,
Right,
but
right.
I'm like, that's a dumb
You be
reason
the
not to
token
watch
white guy,
great.
bro. It's
I
perfect.
know, yeah, it's
Exactly.
fine.
But because of that, and
Be your
like
true
it's a
self.
dumb reason. There's
Yeah.
people like that just not watching great
Yeah,
stuff, and I'm like, you're just holding yourself back, dude. There's so much great
yeah,
entertainment out there.
it's
I know.
crazy.
What
It
have
is,
you
and
watched?
this is
Was
100%
there
it.
Stop
was there like
just
a
drinking
watcher in
Kool-Aid because
there
others are
for
dumb.
a hot second in that episode?
Sorry, say that
So
again.
what?
Wasn't there the what? Did you see the watcher in there for like a quick second in that episode?
Great call out. Yes. So apparently when the
Hmm.
shot goes from the night sky into the party, there's an outline of Watu, which
What is that?
even more so means that this world or this universe is tied to our main MCU universe in some way. Could be a different one, but that it's tied to it. And there's never been a nod really like that um, in X-Men before, right? I mean,
Oh,
it couldn't
yeah.
have. Although there was Iron Man and Spider-Man and Punisher and all that stuff in the original animated series, but
Hmm.
this is the first time this show has kind of given the nod that it's attached to a wider multiverse, aka the 616 or the MCU that we know. So yeah, that's a great
Mm-mm-mm.
call out. There's another thing that I saw that said like the reason why Uatu shows up is because there's certain points in time that we saw, whether it's Loki or I'm trying to think of what else. We'll probably see it in Deadpool and Wolverine, but it's like Nexus events that can't be
Oh,
changed. WandaVision was one of them.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And they're thinking like this destruction of Genosha has to be a Nexus event that basically no matter what in whatever universe you're in, this exact same thing happens and it changes the course of history for mutant kind forever or even humanity for that
Mm.
because of what happens to the mutants. And so I think that's probably why it's there or why he was there. But I don't know. Do you guys have any other thoughts?
No, I mean that makes sense. That paired with Cable sounding like he's done this 100 times.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
like that theory because
yeah.
I haven't heard anybody else say that. That yeah, I mean, it very much so seemed like he had tried it before. We just don't know how many times.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So yeah, I just think this episode was phenomenal. Like that mixed with the next show we're talking about, Shogun episode 8. I was like, I threaded this. We're not really on. I don't really do Twitter as much anymore, but like on Threads, I was like, man, we had two perfect episodes this week. One being
Yeah,
this one, and the other one being episode 8 of Shogun. Yeah.
yeah.
Any other thing on X-Men before we jump on to Shogun? Let's do
Over
it.
to
Take it away.
Naples. All right, okay.
What was that? Ikimashou, Drake.
行きましょう。ありがとうございます。So Shogun episode 8, which is titled The Abyss of Life.
Mhm.
And we come off again of episode 7 where Toronaga's son hits his head on the rock and passes. And you note that in episode 8, he's able to take the mourning of his son for 49 days.
Yeah.
And within this time, everybody who's with Toranaga is like questioning, like, yo, what's up with this dude? Like, he has all these great ideas and he's such a tactician, and yet now he's not even going to his son's funeral. And now he's walking around with a limp and coughing, and he's looking like he's sick. And everybody is now questioning Toranaga's resolve in the matter because, again, Crimson Sky, which was the plan to just run up on Osaka and take out as many people as possible and try to overthrow the government there. Um, After that kind of fell through, they thought, oh, well, Toranaga definitely has more stuff up his sleeve. But yet, in every single moment in the first 45 minutes of this episode, you're like, wow, Toranaga really has given up. And it's really pushing you towards that. But there's also certain aspects within this episode where it leaves you like, well, is he? Is he really doing that?
Mm-hmm.
There's a point in time where Toranaga is asked by the head of the brothel house for a stick of time, which is essentially like a senko, which is the kind of like the smelling stick
Yeah, like an
or
incense
like an
stick that you
incense,
burn. Yeah.
and it burns, and that's the time into which she asked for. And she essentially had said, "I want land on your new empire because I think that you're doing this." And Toranaga's like, "Well, that's not happening." And she's like, "Oh, well, I must have misunderstood." And for the person who sees everything through the eyes of men who are coming into the brothel and maybe speaking a little bit more than they should, she's also very versed in tac tactics to get to where she was because she was essentially like a gutter kid. And so
Yeah.
that was one portion of it. Then you can kind of see when Blackstone is talking to uh, pretty much
Yobushige?
anybody. Yobushige,
Yeah, he's like
and
trying to pitch him like, "Hey, let me get my ship back. I'll sail up on him. Like yeah, and then we'll take it from two fronts, right?"
yes, and that was something where it felt like, oh well, everybody's giving up on him, so that's why they're kind of teaming up. And to now see that there's individuals making pacts and individuals who are going against, even for Toranaga's bestie,
Yeah,
Tora
Hiromatsu.
Hiromatsu, he is like, dude, what are you doing? Like, if you do this, then if you keep going this way, I'm gonna commit seppuku. And
Mm,
Toranaga's like, well, fuck it then, do it, bestie. And the
bro.
bestie's like, well, sure, fine. And then he
Yeah,
asks his son Buntaro to second him, which is cut off his head.
bro.
And this is the
That
first time you see Buntaro weak.
damn. Yeah, that scene was heavy.
Yeah,
That was definitely Game of Thrones, like Ned Stark about to get his head chopped off too. And you're like, no, no, like he's gonna stop him. He's gotta stop. That's his best friend. That's like his only friend. Like he's gotta stop him. And then he goes through with it, and the knife goes in, and he starts dragging it across his belly. I
yep,
was like,
like a
holy
G.
shit. I was
What
like,
the
maybe he
fuck?
did. He got me
Yep,
too. Yeah, I was like,
yeah,
he did. He gave up.
yeah,
He's weak. He can't do it. He can't lead them. But then it
yeah.
goes,
But then it goes. Once we see this and we see Toranaga tear, then it cuts to Mariko kind of not really understanding the whole situation, and Toranaga has to explain that essentially this is a part of the plan, that this scheme was built off of Hirumatsu agreeing to do this, so it looks as if Toranaga is completely going to surrender when he gets back to Osaka. And aside from Madame Jin, who is the Madam of the Willow World, nobody really saw through this plot. And again, with Nobushige then going along with Blackstone, being like, okay, let's do this. And then Mariko finally hearing from Toranaga what they're truly going to be doing. Um, Man, it was just an episode to behold. Again, the tactics, the silence, the unfettered belief in a plan that they
yeah.
are executing to a T.
Mm-hmm. T
That that
T
requires everybody to be
Mm.
out of the loop, but yet is still moving forward regardless of what's taking place is just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. I think you said it best when you were kind of doing your non-spoiler review that we had on like Instagram and TikTok and all that. You
Oh
were
yeah,
like,
yeah,
man, like Toranaga is he's like the most masterful tactician since Sun Tzu. And I was like, really? And I'm watching this episode, I'm like, really? This guy who's about to give up and he's gonna like let his friend die and all these people don't trust him, so they're gonna form alliances behind his back. And then it gets to that last scene where he's at, I guess like the burial site of Hiromatsu and his son Nagakado?
yeah.
I forget.
Yeah, Nakado, I believe.
Nakado, yeah. And I'm like, really? And then you see that part and you're like, damn, he's really gonna use this to his advantage. What a fucking savage! Like this guy is insane,
Yep.
and yeah, that's just the level of dedication he had in himself, in his plan,
Bro.
in what he just knows people that well that he's gonna
Bro.
let them almost do things behind his back, but it's still according to his plan. That's
Yeah, they
wild.
teased it a little bit with the
That's
Falcon.
5D, dude.
Yeah, dude,
5D
5D,
chess.
dude.
Guys played 5D
The
chess.
fifth dimension.
Yeah. Oh,
uh,
he can handle
yeah.
it.
Totonaga teases it a little bit with the metaphor of the hawk. There are certain people who chase, and there are certain people who
Like let them come to you or something.
yeah, something of the sort. Um, but behind the whole thing, I think what this episode showed the most is how your emotions get in the way of execution, and every single person that we think executes the best, Toronaga, Buntaro, even Hiromatsu, Mariko,
Mm-hmm.
Blackthorn, to a degree, right? Blackthorn is the only person who's really showing his emotions quite frequently, and everybody else is almost super stoic. But yet, behind that stoicism is action taking place consistently.
Yeah.
And then you see Buntaro break down when Mariko's like, "I don't want to. I would rather live 1,000 lives than die next to you."
Yeah.
And Buntaro like is crying, and this is one of the strongest dudes. We saw him survive an attack offshore against like
A whole
20s of
village?
men.
Yeah, seriously. And he had like fight his way through them, and then is like, yeah, that dude's definitely dead. And then he comes
Yeah.
back. You're like,
Yeah.
what?
And to have all of that happen, all of that take place, everything was for a purpose. Every movement was utilized in a way that was going to benefit the cause to completion.
5D.
5D, dude.
5D, man.
5D. What more can you say?
Man.
And there's 2 more episodes, and it's only going to get crazier. Hopefully, we can get to that 6th and 7th D.
That's a bukkake full of D's.
That's a bukkake of D's. Boys, let's go.
Yeah, God. See, that's the thing I love so much about this show. There is action, there is like the fighting and all that. That's there, but that's not what makes this show so good. It's just the principles and the culture and the characters. They're unlike. It's like so rare that you could have a show that's so interesting, full of stoic characters. To your point, and yet there's so much depth there, and everybody is knocking it out of the park. It's so well acted. I think I sent you guys a video too. This is the most expensive. It's the most expensive show FX has ever made, and it's 100% worth it. Like every scene looks incredible. It's beautiful. It's just so well done, and the cast they chose is perfect. What's his name? What's Hanada's name? What's Toronaga's name? Hiroyuki Sanada. Thank you. Yeah, he is like, dude, this is his time to shine. Just like the guy who played the Ghoul, or like Cooper Howard Woodridge. I forgot what that guy's name is in real life.
The
But
guy played Ghoul?
yeah, played the Ghoul. Like both these guys have
Walton
needed.
Goggins.
What is it?
Oh,
Something-
wait, is it? Or is
Yeah.
it Walton Goggins the name?
Walton
in the show?
Goggins. That's who it is. Yeah.
That's his actual name, right? Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's like these guys have been such talented actors for so long and needed the opportunity to come into their own and be the leading guy. And both of them have done that now and crushed it. Like, yeah, Walter Goggins as the Ghoul has been fantastic. And Hiroyuki Sanada as Toronaga has been phenomenal.
Anasawai.
And honestly, yeah, and she just kind of rounds out this version too, because she kind of shows the opposite side to this culture from like a female perspective, and she's fantastic. I think it's interesting what you're pointing on too with Blackthorn, because I think this is the first episode where he didn't just let his emotions drive him, and he does, but not in an expected way. He does it against his own men, where now he realizes he used to be from this culture. He no longer belongs there because he's adapted, but he doesn't quite belong there either. But in that moment, he still finds a way to be useful and relate and partner up with the Yobushige. And so that whole relationship, that arc in their relationship has been fascinating. But it's just like, there's so much power in the stillness of these scenes and in them accepting what's going on in that moment. And it's like, it's really fucking powerful and amazing. And And I think even if you're like somebody who really wants to see a lot of action, you do kind of get that, but more so it's showing you maybe a more masculine, more powerful, manly side than just going and bashing someone's head in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's a really fascinating thing I feel like it's doing.
No, Blackthorn definitely went through like a personal renaissance. Like he thought, civilization in England was like the
Peak.
epitome.
Yeah.
And he's realizing that there's like levels to this game. There's 5D, you know what I mean? Um
5D. That's our next shirt, by the way.
5D, dude,
Yeah,
5D.
5D.
And it's interesting from his perspective as well too, because he's having very much so like that Tom Cruise Last Samurai moment where he's like, wow, this culture is beautiful, and I never realized it, and you know, the honor in it is the valor of what he would consider like a English knight, right? To be a Knights Templar or
Yeah.
things of the such. Like there's admittedly a component to Japanese culture that supersedes your own belief in your own culture.
Yeah, definitely. Especially after you're forced. I mean, he had no other choice, but
Yeah.
he was forced to embrace it, and then he really embraced it, and he had to like not just embrace it, but like learn it and let it kind of wash over him. And I think if this show teaches us anything, it's that it's you should be open to other cultures because there's something to learn and maybe something better than what you thought before. I think for him coming from England to Japan, but like he was our for a lot of I would say the general population who watches this show, they're Blackthorn. They don't know about Japanese culture. They don't know what
Yeah.
it's like. They don't know about the precision, the honor, the stoicism, but the dedication to something.
Mm.
And seeing him evolve to it, I think it's 100% more earned than The Last Samurai, even though I
Yeah,
do like that
100%.
movie. But I think it's going to change for me going back and watching that. I think this show is going to be the epitome of the white man coming into Japan and adapting the culture. Like, this
Yeah,
is the peak.
for sure. For sure.
So, yeah, fantastic episode, man. Like, the evolution here for all these characters, we know a big battle's coming, and it
Oh
is
yeah.
going.
It's
Yeah,
gonna be bloody and gory. There's gonna
it's gonna
be
be
pieces of
tough.
human beings everywhere. Yeah.
Who do you think survives out of the rest of this group? I think Tonaga survives because history, but I don't know. I didn't read the
Yeah.
book. Who
Yeah,
else?
no, I did not read the book either. I think Buntaro will die, and that'll kind of help Anasawai close that door, and or vice versa.
That's a
Um,
good call out.
yeah, I think Nobushige, or yeah, Nobushige?
Yobushige.
Yobushige. I think he survives. I think Blackthorn has the availability to die. Granted, I haven't read the book. He probably doesn't die because he's the main character, but um, yeah, I can see maybe those individuals dying. Everybody else is kind of like an ancillary character that only adds to like Toranaga Anasawai or the main four guy like Buntaro, right? So anybody else who dies, like, thanks for your service, you know?
Yeah, I think Nagakato's friend too. I want to see what happens to him
Oh
because
yeah, yeah, yeah.
he's very like honorable too, and like they
The
even
nephew.
yeah, the
Yeah,
nephew, and they even appreciated that he was like speaking up for his friend. You know what I mean? Like they were like,
yeah,
oh, that's another thing about Japanese culture. It's like they're all ragging on him, like, oh, he was so dumb, and he was like, no, don't you like realize like he always wanted what's best for his dad and whatever. And then they were all like, no, he's right. Rather than like they could have been like, shut the fuck up, you idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
but they did it. They were like, oh no, he's actually right, which I loved the shit out of that. Yeah.
yeah,
What
yeah.
about you, Scott? Any thoughts on like who doesn't make it at the end of the season?
Not really, dude. I'm so far behind.
Yeah. Oh shit. We didn't watch this
No, but
episode?
I didn't. But
Oh hell yeah,
man, am I hyped.
dude.
This show sounds so good. I'm like really trying to find time to watch it. But
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna like yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's
is
gonna.
the
You're. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one thing I would say about the show though. It's like if you don't have time, you really gotta pay attention and sit
Yeah.
down and let
100%.
sink into it.
Yeah, it's not like
So
a
that
casual watch, right? Like
yeah, if you're just like trying to fold laundry and stuff, I mean, unless you speak fluent Japanese, I think you're gonna miss a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah.
which I
So,
don't.
oh, good to know.
Whoa.
Wakarimasen.
Well,
But yeah, God.
Bakayaro.
Hi. But
exactly.
anyways, this is so good. Man, love this show so much. I'm in every week, and yeah, I don't think it's. I think we could talk about this episode forever and still not explain a fifth of what's in it.
Yeah,
Like,
there's lots of intricacies.
yeah, there's just so much detail and like subtlety in the acting and what they show and all that. It's amazing. But yeah, I think that's kind of it for the show tonight. I don't know. You guys have any final thoughts, closing words?
No, it was a
Every
big show.
It
This was
was.
we did a
We gotta
lot.
wrap this up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you made it this far, thank you.
Thank you.
Arigatou gozaimashita.
for the tomatoes.
Well said. All right, everyone. Yeah, this is it for this week. We have some spotlight interviews coming up. Again, if you haven't done it, check us out on social media. We're clipping some of our best parts, and you can also see it on YouTube. We have a full video version now. It seems like a lot of people are moving over that direction, which I'm not mad at all. But we also have a lot of fun stuff going on social media. So connect with us over there. We want to hear what you guys think about these episodes because we love talking to each other and we can do that forever and we will. But we also want to hear from you.
Yeah.
So
Variety.
thanks so much. Yeah, definitely. Just also, yeah, it's nice to hear, some other thoughts out there. But you guys, thanks for sticking around this long. Check us out. We may be leaking and hinting at some stuff coming up that you will be able to bring home a piece of the Joystick Show. So it's in the works. So stay tuned and follow us on social media so you can check that stuff out. But until next time, mahalo for sticking it with us.
The Joystick Show. The Joystick Show.